Is this an I have a answer, but I know if it's a good one. The objection of John 5:26, that the reason why the Father gave Jesus life in Himself is because Jesus is eternally begotten of the Father.
Yes. So the giving doesn't mean it took place in a moment in time.
Okay.
Right? The giving isn't meaning that he didn't have it and then was given to it. This is simply the way that the Lord would have to speak. Because let me explain what he's saying. I've done sessions on this, guys. Let me show you where to find it. This is an objection brought up by semi-Arians, full-blooded Arians, and Unitarians. John 5:26. John 5:26. Just put in. So guys, remind me and pray for me. I got to do 2 playlists. I'm going to do a playlist, Islamic Dilemma, and then I got to do one on John 5:26. John 5:26 right here. There it is. And you pray for me, Dave, today. I don't eat. Stay on my intermittent fasting, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't look like Sylph. He's an angry person.
Yeah.
John 5:26. Let's go through the answer, what he's saying here. Right here. You just put in John 5:26 in my search engine and go through the articles. You see it?
Yeah.
Just check it out now. What's the objection, guys? Here's the objection. Let's hear this. This is a good question. You got to learn because Greg Stafford used it. Here's the objection. Truly, truly, I say to you, an hour is coming, and now is, when the dead will hear the voice of the Son of God, and those who hear will live. For just as the Father has life in himself, even so he gave to the Son also to have life in himself. So what's the objection? Do make sure to watch my series refuting Greg Stafford on this. If Jesus is God, how is it the Father gave him life in himself? You understand what they're trying to show? The objection? You guys are not bored, right? You can go for another 20 minutes because I got like 2 more people. If Jesus is God, then why is it the Father gave him life in himself? Well, number one, it doesn't mean God gave Jesus life. I want you to understand how to refute this. Whatever it means for Jesus to have life in himself, and that life that he has in himself was granted to him by the Father, it doesn't mean God gave him life, meaning that he didn't exist. This is what they're trying to prove to you. And I'm going to show you how to refute that. Even if I argue with them and agree with them, all right, at some point in time, the Father gave Jesus life in himself. But that doesn't mean he gave him life, that he didn't exist. How do I know? Because I'm going to show you something. You guys pay attention to this. This is the burial of this argument. You go to John 6:53. The Greek is virtually identical. John 6:53. I want you to see, what do I mean it's virtually identical? So Jesus said to them, now watch, Dave, you're going to amuse me and you're going to engage me, so I want you to catch it. Jesus said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in yourselves. It's the same expression.
Yeah.
You have no life in yourselves. Now, guys, can I ask everyone a question? David, I'm going to ask you a question. Pay attention. The people he's speaking to, they didn't have life in themselves because he hadn't given them their flesh. But weren't they still alive and conscious?
Yes.
So one more time. You got it. One more time. He's telling these people, you're going to have to eat my flesh and drink my blood. They haven't done it. Because until you do, you're not going to have life in yourself. But he's talking to people who are already alive, who are already conscious, who already exist. So having life in yourself cannot mean that you go from non-existence into existence, because they already exist, even though they don't have this life in themselves. So that doesn't prove God gave Jesus life, that he brought him into being. It ain't going to work. Right?
Yeah, it's not going to work.
Because were these people alive?
Yes.
That he's talking to? Were they conscious?
Yes.
Did they have existence?
Yes.
Even though they didn't have life in themselves.
Yes.
So even if God gave Jesus life in himself, that doesn't mean he didn't exist until he was given that life. So what does it mean for them to have life in themselves? Well, let's see. It means until you eat the flesh and drink the blood of the Son of Man, you will not have everlasting life. All right, here. He who eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I will raise him up at the last day. So they will not live forever in glorified, immortal bodies, and will not live forever in moral incorruption. They already are alive, they already have existence, but they won't have this kind of life. You see?
Yeah.
And what does it mean the Father gave the Son life in himself? The answer is right here, brother. Here it is. Note, it doesn't mean, let me repeat, it doesn't mean, one more time, that the Father gave the Son life, so that the Son did not exist until the Father gave him life and caused him to exist. How do I know it doesn't mean that? Let's see if you're listening. Rumble, everyone else, let's see if you're listening. Because he explains to you what it means for him to have life in himself. Right here. Truly, truly, I say to you, an hour is coming, and now is, when the dead will hear the voice of the Son of God, and those who hear will live. Now he explains, how is it that he's able to make people alive spiritually and physically? Notice he's saying, the hour has come, and now is, when they will hear the voice of God, and they will live. Why is it that he's able to make them alive? For just as the Father has life in himself, even so he gave through the Son to have life in himself. That's the reason. My Father has life in himself. What does that mean? My Father, because he has life, he's able to give life to others. Similarly, because I have life in myself, that's why I'm able to make others alive.
Mm.
You understand what the meaning is?
Yeah.
The meaning is that the Father has granted the Son to be able to give life to others. It doesn't say the Father gave the Son life and caused them to exist. That's not the meaning. Did everyone get this, or no one got it?
Yeah. I
You
got
got it? So, that's number one. No matter how you interpret this text, it does not prove that Christ came into existence, that Christ went from non-existence into existence. Because I just showed you the same words. Life in himself is used of those who are standing before him. Notice, they're alive, they are conscious, they're alert, they have existence, and yet they don't have life in themselves. So Jesus, having life in himself, doesn't mean until he had it, he didn't exist. That's a butchering of the words. So what does it mean? He has life in himself, meaning the Father authorized the Son to be able to give life to others. That's all it means. Right? So now the question comes down to, did the Son always have this ability? Has the Son always been able to give life? Yes. Now I'm going to show you that according to our friend, when I don't want to insult anymore because I know he watches me, because he asked for prayers. Pray for pristine faith. God have mercy on him and heal him of his condition and heal the family. And that comes to the fullness of the truth. No more demonizing him because he reached out to me and I want to show him love. He likes to argue for a different punctuation that he thinks proves that Christ was given existence. Nonetheless, when we go to John 1, 2-4, pay attention. Since when has the Son, since when did the Son have life in himself? Pay attention, guys. You ready? If we follow the prologue, watch here. Well, John 1, 2-4. He was in the beginning with God. Beginning when? The beginning of creation. Already when creation came into being, he was already there. How do I know? All things came into being through him. And apart from him, nothing came into being that has come into being. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. Now, watch. It says he was already there when the beginning came to be. He was there before all things were created. In fact, all things were created through him. And he already had life in himself. So since when did Jesus have life in himself?
Since before creation.
So that means he's always had it, right?
Yes.
Eternally, right?
Yes.
So that means when he says the Father granted the Son to have life in himself, the granting is not a moment in time. It's not talking about that the Son at one point didn't have the ability to give life, but then was given that ability later on. The granting simply means that this ability that the Son has, he has it in union with the Father, because that life that comes to creation comes from the Father through him.
Yeah.
You understand what it means now?
Yeah.
So why does God then speak in temporal language, like granted? Because there is no other way he can speak. Meaning, if he's talking to creatures who are bound to time and space and matter, and as creatures of time, we experience things as they unfold before our eyes. In what other way can God speak apart from having to use temporal language, language that will use expressions that from our perspective imply time and moments, even though God is not bound to creation the way we are, and yet for him to communicate to us on our level, he has to humble himself and use our language and our expressions that to us, in our experience, imply moments unfolding, but doesn't necessarily apply to God. How? In what other way could God speak?
He can't speak in any other way.
That's right. But now there is a punctuation difference. Let's see if that punctuation will change the meaning of this text. So far, you with me, guys, or you're asleep? Did everyone understand what I said? Now, David, you got it, right?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Punctuation. Punctuation. John 1. All right. We were saying it along. There is another way to punctuate the Greek, and some have capitalized on this to show, you see, that proves that Jesus was created. Let me get you this. I did a session on this anyway. And all these articles that I wrote was in response to pristine faith. All right. Now, Benedict, everyone else got it, right? Understand what I mean? Now, I did a whole slew of posts on how John 1, 3-4 has been punctuated by the early Christians to show that none of them taught that Jesus was created and came into existence, came into being. Because he's the uncreated word, logos, who's always existed within God and did not come into being from nothing. Creatio ex nihilo. All right? Everyone got it? Now let's go right here. John 1, 3-4. The Jesus Christ reign, check out. I'm going to show you how the New World Translation renders it. Because after all, they're Arians, right?
Yes.
All right. This was done for pristine faith. Now, hopefully, he'll accept correction and repent. If not, that's between him and the Lord. Here it is, New World Translation. Even the Jehovah's Witnesses don't translate it the way he wants it to be translated. Let me see. Here you go. Here it is. Here's a different way of punctuating the Greek. All things came into existence through him, and apart from him, not even one thing came into existence. What has come into existence by means of him was life. You understand?
Yeah.
Even they don't translate it to mean that the Son came into existence, that he was made alive. They even correctly understand that if you punctuate the Greek differently, like some early Christians, it means that the life that the creation possesses, the life that the creation enjoys, the life given to creation came by means of him. He is the one that gave the things that exist their life. But for him to be able to give the creation that came into being by him life, that means he already had the ability to give life before they came into being, right?
Yes.
So how does that prove Arianism?
It doesn't.
So yes, your answer is correct. It's the eternal begetting of the Son. Father's the source of all that the Spirit and the Son possess. But they've possessed it always because they've always been united with one another.